So, Irfan, welcome along to Meet the Member. Thank you so much for giving up your time this afternoon. This is a really informal chat, conversation, where we're really just interested to meet all of the members on the membership platform and get to know a little bit more about them. So, got about 10 questions or so that we ask people. And so the first one is, tell our members about yourself, Irfan. Tell us about your background and tell us how you got into doing what you do.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, so my name's Irfan Ali, and I'm currently a solicitor with David Gray Solicitors. So I graduated from Sunderland University with a first-class honours, and I did my post-qualification legal practice course over at Northumbria University, where I came out with a distinction. And from there, I'd been working in a few local firms that dealt with various different types of area of work before I landed my job as a paralegal with David Gray Solicitors. And I've been working in the immigration department now for just over 6 years now, I think it is.
Right.
So and now all qualified, gone through all the training and everything. So so I've just been doing my job since then.
And I don't know about immigration, but what I learned recently was that actually, when you qualify in university, that doesn't actually make you qualify, does it?
No.
As a solicitor, no, which is bizarre, because most times a degree is kind of what you need in order to become qualified, but in your world that's not the case, is it?
No, I think, well, basically, usually what happens is with getting a degree, you're doing all the theoretical work behind, with all the legislation, how it's all made, how it tends to operate. You tend to look at more, looking at the case law, looking at decisions that's been made and how it applies to cases. So it's very, very much theoretical based. So that's what you do with in university. You learn the basics in terms of what's involved, with certain aspects of certain areas of law. And then when you are going, if people want to then qualify as a solicitor, they will then usually have to complete what is the a legal practice course, where you're looking at more the practical aspects of doing things. So that will involve doing in terms of, for example, if you have a civil claim, going through the forms, what you would need to be filling in, etc. So it's all the very much the practical aspect of the job that you would then do at the legal practice course. And then to qualify as a solicitor, you would usually spend 2 years doing practical working experience on the job. Normally people tend to do 6 months in 4 different areas of law, and you basically get to grips with pretty much the different aspects of the work, different clients, different set of environment. And then once you've done that training, you then basically, you then go on to then getting qualified, which is done by the SRA.
Sure. Oh, well, thanks for that. And so it's no wonder that solicitors charge thousands of pounds per hour then, is it? The time that you need to spend.
There's a lot of training that goes into qualifying as a solicitor.
Yeah. And probably continued training as well, Irfan. Is that probably fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. I think especially with, I do immigration work, and to be honest, the rules change on a very, very frequent basis. So you're constantly having to do constant training, keeping up to date with everything that's been going on. It never remains static, and so I think that's probably one of the most important things. Is that keeps you on your toes, because you're constantly having to be up to date with everything that's happening, especially with Brexit at the moment. We sign up to notifications from the government whenever there's any updates to the immigration rules, and the inbox of just pinging with updates on a weekly basis. Yeah, it was quite intense.
And tell us, Irfan, have you always wanted to be a solicitor, or was this a fairly late in your kind of early life, that you decided to become a solicitor?
Well, to be honest, I think when you're younger, you tend to go through phases where you're kind of adamant that you want to follow a certain profession, and then as you grow a bit older, your views do change a bit. And so it's I think for me, I think it was when I was working within the legal field, where it was kind of like, for me, it was like, this is the kind of the path that I want to be taking. But prior to that, it varied with different aspects of different jobs and stuff. I think for me, it was when I was actually working within the legal field that confirmed that this is what I wanted to do.
And so, thinking back to, I mean, before you were a solicitor, before you even went to university, was there something that happened in your life? Was there an event that happened that said, actually, I'm going to go and practice law? Or did you actually just make a mistake and mistakenly went to university and practiced law?
No, I mean, to be honest, I mean, my first exposure that I got to law was when I was at college, and it's sixth form, sorry. So that's where they did. So they did a course on law, and I found it very interesting. And I think it was like, and that really piqued my interest from there in terms of, with the whole theoretical aspects of it. And I think from there it kind of like, it developed that further, going into doing it at university, and obviously where I am now. So that's probably where it probably started, I think.
Okay, thank you for that. And so tell us a little bit, Irfan, about the more technical nature of what you do as a solicitor. We know that you're an immigration solicitor, but what does that actually mean, and who do you support, and how do you support them?
So in terms of the kind of work, I think what might help is the kind of work that we do. So within the immigration field, I mean, I'll deal with all sorts of different type of cases. Whether that's working with family members who want to come to the UK and whether they're coming here to join someone, or whether they're coming to settle, whether someone who wants to work or study or visit, and also help with the businesses as well. So I think it's all variety of different kind of clients, and some cases where they don't have any in the UK but don't have any status, or they want to regularize the status. Some people want to apply for British citizenship, and people just want to come for a visit. So there's a whole array of clients that we deal with, and a whole different array of area work that we that I tend to deal with. And normally you find that there's a process to follow, and when things don't quite go right, then we also then help people with, in terms of challenging negative decisions, whether that's be by way of an appeal, judicial review, administrative review. So there's a whole array of stuff that we tend to deal with that, and then on a regular basis as well, I tend to deal with quite a bit with deportation as well. So people who are facing some deportation action by the Home Office. So that's I mean, some of the work that we deal with, it's very very, very time sensitive. So it just requires you to be very, very organized in what you do. So it's just kind of like managing all the different types of work that you're dealing with the different types of clients, with the different needs and stuff, and trying to running things as smoothly as possible.
And typically, how many clients would you work with at any given time, Irfan? Okay, what does a workload look like for you guys?
I think each, for me, we tend, it can vary, because obviously sometimes what you tend to find is that, things are quite steady month on month, but then, for example, if the Home Office fees, if they were going to be going up, for example, so what you would generally tend to do then is you'd want to get us all the work basically put in before the fees actually increase. So you'll see spikes in work going up, and a lot of it can also be impacted as well by if the government are making some sort of if they're doing around with things. So for example, there may be a spell where the enforcement team are doing raids on properties, on businesses where if they find any illegal workers and whatever, and then what you tend to find is that there's a spell of civil penalties, one after the other, because obviously they've been doing the rounds. So I think that does have an impact, and that does impact the work that you do, and you do see spikes going up and down in that kind of work. But I mean, I think it can range in terms of having about up to 100 clients or so, but you wouldn't necessarily be working on each file every single day as such, because once you've done a case, it's basically you're waiting for decisions to come through. So I mean, it generally keeps it quite steady moving forward.
And is there a particular flavour of work that's coming through at the moment? You mentioned about you might go into a business and you might uncover X number of people who may be here illegally or may not. What typically now is your largest area of work at the moment?
I mean, I would say probably we do a lot with family-based visas. So whether that's people who are wanting to come to the UK, who are already in the UK, they need to extend the visa, they're coming to looking to apply for settlement, or they've gone through that process and they basically want to apply for British citizenship. So generally what you tend to find is that with the family-based visas, they tend to stay with you up until the time they come to the conclusion of the whole entire case, which can be from anywhere from, that could be in 5 years, 6 years, or it can also be, 10 years time, where you're kind of working with the same family, or, with the same kind of client throughout that time period. So you do tend to build up a good relationship with them. But, family work, we do quite a bit of family work. But I mean, in terms of moving forward, I think at the moment we will be expecting a surge of, obviously with Brexit, with EA applications, especially come the summertime when the when the deadline will be applied for people who haven't done so already. So there'll be probably a spike in work with that kind of area of work, and there's a sponsor licenses as well. Businesses who want to employ, EU migrants who have come here after after December. There's all those kind of things that basically, that will have an impact on the kind of work that we do, and kind of we tend to move with the flow.
Yeah, and thinking about the job that you do, and thinking about the kind of road that you've taken to get here, what has been some of the biggest challenges that you've experienced and overcome?
I think sometimes, I think, you come across some cases where, time is very much of the essence in terms of actually being able to, it's like if there's an appeal, for example, that you need to lodge, or if there's a deadline to meet, you pretty much have to drop everything else in order to focus all the time and the attention to this one particular case. And I think that can be quite draining on, on resources and, on time as well dealing with all the other things that comes with your day-to-day stuff. So I think, being very, very alert to key dates for us is vitally important. So I think that is one of the big times, and I tend to overcome that in terms of how I manage my diaries. So everything goes into a key, all our key dates, we have a specific diary that goes into, so that other people are aware of it as well, and also goes into my diary as well. So basically, so if for whatever reason I wasn't in, so someone else will be able to look into the diary, they can see that, oh yes, there's a key date here, we need to get an application submitted by this date, or we need to respond to whoever by this date. So yeah, so I think that's probably one of the challenges that is always, there's always one thing or another that you kind of come across, and you have to then drop and just deal with this one case, which can be quite time consuming.
Well, look, it's January 2021 as we talk, and it would be remiss of us to not ask around COVID and how that has affected you personally, and the way in which you operate in your business, and also the people that you support and help. So how has COVID affected how you work, Irfan?
So, I mean, I think with COVID, obviously that's impacted a lot of clients, and it's impacted a lot of businesses, regardless of what industry we work in, there's been some sort of impact one way or the other. And I think a lot of at the height of the whole COVID pandemic, back in 2020, there was, with all the shutdowns and everything, that meant that people were either stuck abroad, or they were stuck in the UK, they couldn't leave, the visa was coming to expire. And so the Home Office, they did implement concessions, and they do have concessions going on at the moment for people who have been impacted by by COVID, so they can't travel, or if they have to quarantine or whatever. So I think it's been very challenging and it's been very stressful for clients, I think, because the last thing anyone wants is to become an overstayer. If they're in the UK with valid permission to leave, they don't want that to expire and still be here. So I think because of that impacts any future application that they may make. So I think obviously the Home Office, they have been very good in that sense, in the sense that they've been giving out concessions. Although they've they have kept that fairly tightly knitted in the sense that it is getting constantly reviewed. They're only letting basically, they'll say that this concession is available up until this date, and then when they come to that date, they'll extend it a little bit further. So I think that's been one of the biggest issues for a lot of the clients is obviously being able, is what are they meant to do? So some of the immigration rules, it doesn't allow people to make an application from inside the UK, but then what that means is they have to leave the UK and apply for entry clearance if they want to be in a specific category. So one of those examples is for, is like a partner visa. So if someone's here as a visitor, generally you can't switch into the partner category. So you'd have to leave the UK and apply for entry clearance. But the concessions has allowed people to make the application in country where they would usually need to leave the UK. So I think, obviously that COVID has had a massive impact for those clients in terms of the way we work. Now, obviously, as we work with our immigration department, I mean, we deal with clients both UK, across the UK and abroad as well. So, I mean, that hasn't really had a massive impact in the way how we deal with things in that regard. I think what we have probably done is just strengthen our systems and processes just so that we can deliver a better service to the clients. So it's a lot more streamlined, and the rest of the firm has followed, in sense that in terms of working remotely, that's we've been doing that since February and it's been working perfectly fine. We've got skeleton staff going into the office to make sure everything's all taken over. And the idea behind all of this is to basically to deliver that same high level of standard service without impacting the clients. And we're trying to make work come to a solution where if there is a bit of a problem, how we can overcome that. So I think to a large extent it's been good in the sense that everyone has been coming together, both employees and employers, in trying to make things work.
Great. Gosh, it sounds so complicated. Well, it is complicated, isn't it? But just something I picked up on there was the fact that you have to leave the UK to apply for a partner visa to come back into the UK. This is probably why I'm not a solicitor, because actually that makes perfect sense to me. You just do it when you're in the UK.
I mean, see, sometimes in some categories you can switch in the UK, but as someone who's as a visitor, generally that's kind of limited. So yeah, I mean, immigration is probably one of the, there's a whole array of things that comes with it, and there's a minefield trying to navigate through the whole immigration rules. I mean, they are in the process of trying to simplify it, but I think that'll take some time in terms of actually trying to get through everything. I mean, obviously, all the information is available out there. It's trying to interpret it all that where it makes sense to the client. So I mean, and obviously experience and knowledge with all of that helps a lot in terms of actually guiding the client through all of that and picking out the relevant bits which are relevant to them, and applying applying the law to each case.
Great. And look, it is January 2021. It's New Year's resolution time. So on a personal or a professional level, or both, what kind of goals are you looking to set for yourself this year, Irfan?
I think we've had, we've been using technology quite a bit. And I think for me personally, I think anyways, it's the way forward in terms of being able to deliver a better service for clients, is utilizing whatever technology, that we possibly can. So I think my goal would be to see where we can, introduce more technology in it so that we can better service our clients. So I think that would probably be my goal for this year, is to see what we can do to be able to deliver better service for our clients.
Great. I mean, certainly a lot of people that we talk to have noticed the fact that, you don't have to drive 10, 15, 20 miles or minutes to every meeting now. You can just jump on a Zoom call or a Teams call, and so the efficiency's probably gone up a little bit. So no, that's great. And look, tell us a little bit about your history and being a solicitor, being in a firm. For any budding solicitor type people out there, what kind of one bit of advice would you give anybody that's looking to get into immigration as a solicitor, or a solicitor more generally?
I mean, I think, for anyone who is interested in becoming a solicitor, I think the best way to really get exposure of how things work in a law firm is probably best just to reach out and get some work experience. because that's this, you can't go wrong with a bit of first-hand experience of actually doing it. And I think if you can, the more experience you can get, that will give you a better idea of actually what's involved in terms of, with the law firm, how they operate, the kind of work that they do. Normally, generally, work experiences that can be for a week or 2 weeks, whatever. But I would definitely recommend for anyone who is interested that, they just reach out to firms and see whether or not anyone is, who kind of offer a work experience for them.
Okay, great. And look, you'll be glad to hear this is the last question, Irfan. So your job, the role that you do sounds pretty full on. So what does Irfan do in his downtime? What is Irfan's hobbies? What do you get up to when you're not working as a solicitor?
I mean, I thoroughly enjoy playing squash. It's I picked up. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and obviously the whole gyms and stuff are a bit closed. But I mean, usually under normal circumstances, I mean, I'll probably be having about 2 or 3 games a week of squash.
Yes.
Ideally, if I can do more, I would love to do that. But yeah, I love my squash after work. It really helps just to wind down. And you can't go wrong with a bit of Netflix either. So I do quite enjoy some Netflix.
Well, I must admit, I struggle with time to watch Netflix and the TV in general. But and are you any good at squash? I mean, you've been playing for a couple of years. Do you have a handicap there type thing, as they say in golf? Are you pretty good? Or are you pretty not good?
I'm a part of a local league, so we tend to play each other on a regular basis. Obviously, that's been suspended at the moment. I mean, I think, for me, I mean, I just enjoy just playing the sport. It's I mean, that's just getting out and about, meeting new people, whatever, and just enjoying the sports for me. I think just being involved, just taking part of it all. I mean, I'm not. Obviously, you would like to win every game, but that takes some time.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure. You have agreed to come on next month on the Asian Business Connections Curry Club and talk for about 10-15 minutes about the work that you do and Brexit and the impact on businesses and immigration and so on and so forth. So really, thank you very much for that. What we'll do is we'll put your details on the outro. So don't worry about that. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, we can arrange that. And lastly, thank you so much for your time, Irfan. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.